The whole idea is we were going to try and recreate one of the clubs on the island here, and it's called the Vickham Club. And I brought everybody down, and we researched it, we looked at it, he took a lot of pictures, and we did our best to recreate the club, and to take the best parts of it and really make it feel like the club. In fact, very early in the performance, I forgot that we were filming. I really did, and that never happens either. But I saw these faces of people I know here, and I felt like I was in Vickham's, in the club, playing, and we were just playing to a bunch of people.
We put a lot of work into the rehearsals. I mean, we definitely woodshedded for this. I mean, we made sure we enhanced the band, we augmented the band with other players. We had Clyde Jones and Lorenzo
and Greg Beek.
And Greg Beek. So yeah, we enhanced our band, which also was an interesting thing for us to do, because you know, when you have all these extra players, you have to think about the arrangements in a different way. Everyone has to be a little bit more spare and tasteful with the parts they play, because there's so much instrumentation on stage. You know, the vocals were quite challenging, especially on a song like After the Dance. Some of those vocal parts are, you know, it's one thing to create them in the studio, it's another thing to sing them live and perform them. So there was some good work put in, but it was fun, and it was definitely worthwhile, because look how we've changed our set list all of a sudden. Our set list has, you know, has
Just
17 new
by
songs.
15 songs.
Right, exactly.
But I was really proud of the band.
Yeah, the band really
rose to the occasion. It was amazing, and you know, it was a great. I think the call to add Greg to it was great, because he added a lot of the elements that are on the record that only he could have added, because he played them and programmed them. And Lorenzo was great because he's a local guy, and he just played along. He fit in perfectly. Clyde Jones is an old friend, and he allowed T-Bone to play more guitar, which he did on the record. Right. So Clyde played bass, and also Clyde's a great singer. So it really worked out great.
Yep.
Well, we will take it on tour in some form.
I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind being on stage in a real live situation with this exact same setup.
I would do just the show.
It was really cool.
For anybody, it was great. We finally tracked down, after listening to various people's mostly bad attempts to cut this song, we went straight to Joe Bett, which is the publishing company, and they have After the Dance down as an instrumental. So they don't even know what the words are. So I got no satisfaction from them. So I wound up just making up the words. And I did that on a lot of the songs. We went a lot from memory. If I didn't know the words, I would just make new words up. If we didn't know a bridge, we just make a new bridge up. And really just treat the songs as if they were brand new songs. I say it was sort of like we had a collaboration with the songs. It was like we were co-writers with the original songs. And that was done with a distinct idea that we would show our uniqueness, because there was a purpose to this plan, to show what it is that we do, to define ourselves, and also show what it is that's unique about us as compared to the originals. So to show what Hall & Oates really is all about.
Well, you know, it's funny. I really didn't pick What You See Is What You Get. That was picked for me, which I thought was really interesting. Because, yeah, T-Bone told me that a friend of his thought it would be a great song for me to sing.
Oh, right.
And as soon as he said it, I said, it would be. And I never would have thought about it. And I think even lyrically especially, it really suits me, because I think, you know, part of the nature of my personality is very well described by What You See Is What You Get.
T-Bone mentioned neither one of us. I mean, I did that song late, maybe about 10 o'clock at night, and it was a first take, I just did it, and we all had tears in our eyes. And I don't think I have personally never sung a song where I made myself cry. I swear that has never happened to me. And we were laughing. We were crying and laughing at the same time, because we went, look at you, look at you. And there was like tears running down our eyes. So I mean, it was really the most unique vocal moment I've ever had from that kind of an emotional standpoint.
That and After the Dance too, because of the amount of work. You know.
Oh, we just clapped after doing that one. That was like going to school, right?
Oh yeah. It was school for me to work with Daryl and T-Bone in this project. These guys are the most talented people to pull off this record, and other people have pulled off records like this, but this was done the right way. It wasn't stiff. The grooves transcended. It just really, it was unbelievable. I think the pockets, and I think that it never became technical. It always was from the heart and was from the soul. It was amazing. And a lot of the performances were one-take performances that captured the spirit.
It's an honest record. It's a record. It's an interpretive record, which is unique because we've never done one, and it's a record about honest songs that relate to us in a lot of ways, that are connected to our lives and our musical experience.
But all the songs, I mean, you were saying they weren't all recorded. The original songs weren't all originally recorded necessarily in Philadelphia, but they're all the part of the sound of Philadelphia. And what we do is our version of the sound of Philadelphia, hence the title, Our Kind of Soul. So it was sort of the whole idea was to use these songs to define us and say, okay, this is what they come from, this is what they do, this is the pure version of what they do, and also this is what sets them apart from other Philly acts and other people that have created their own version of the sound of Philadelphia. This is the first time that I ever got a chance to be my pure self, to take that absolute purity of these kind of songs, and I'm not trying to write new songs. You know, I'm just working with this pure idea of my origins, and that was really unique. And that's what T-Bone's talking about. This has been in our blood. It's been in our music all along. It's always been there, but it's never been so purely defined.
I think doing albums like this, or it's almost like taking a break in a way. It's a different sort of creative process. I think the songwriting thing, when we write our original material, I think it's much more labor intensive. It's much more emotionally intensive because we really have to. We have to bring it up from, we have to create it from nowhere.
Well, it's a dozen plus songs that you're out on the edge with. They're unproven pieces of work that you have to literally sell to the world. You sell these emotions to the world. These songs were songs that were, most of them were songs that have already been tried and true as great songs, and it was just our collaboration with the songs and our interpretation that made them ours. But like John said, it's a much more it's an easier kind of recording. Right. But that's fun. It's good to have fun sometimes.
Sure, exactly.
And I think that showed on the record. We took definitely not a creative break, because we were just as creative with this as had we been with any of the songs, new songs. But it's just a little easier to have something, the work already in front of you.
We didn't overwork anything at all.
What's the opposite of belaboring something?
Yeah.
We just went for it.
It's
just
the let it ride.
went for
We
it.
just went for it.
Yeah.
Well, I think the island gives us that style, very simple.
Yeah.
The technology we use was so simple. Nothing got in the way of the recording process, which could really happen nowadays.
T-Bone had brought one acoustic guitar. I had this fiberglass guitar that I had here. I use it here because it doesn't warp. It's made in Hawaii and it's indestructible. And so I had that. And then we found we needed a bass. So we borrowed. We searched around, and we got this. The local church. They have bands that play in the church, and we know some of the guys got to know. They got to know some of the guys that play there, and they donated a bass from the church.
Here, this is blessed in the church, man. This bass is blessed in the church.
Sanctified
and we
bass.
plugged it in,
and it just went thump, and it sounded so good.
I think what really cemented, no pun intended, the whole idea of that we could make the entire record down here from beginning to end was maybe the second day when Greg really fine-tuned the vocal sound in Daryl's headphones.
Yeah.
And Daryl took the phones off and he goes, "This is the most amazing vocal sound
Yeah.
I've ever had in my entire life. I want to do the whole record here. I want to sing the whole record here. I want to breathe this air. And I just want to be in this environment." I mean, that pretty much locked it up, and we realized, okay, we're not going to do a couple of tracks here and go back to New York. We're really going to make the whole record here. We pretty much stuck to the plan.
And the other crazy thing, and to jump ahead a little bit, is the whole record was mixed here. Greg mixed the album right here in this room, and we said, well, that can't possibly be. And then he took it back to Nashville, and he spent all this time trying to do remixes, and we never topped the original mixes. This was a very low-tech record. This is as low-tech as it's possible to make. And it was using the available equipment that we happened to have by chance, and the loads of inspiration that this place gave us. You said I live around the world. I have my triangle. My triangle is upstate New York, England, and down here. So depending on the season and proximity, or what we're doing and all that, That's where I wind up basing myself out of. And in the wintertime, obviously, you want to be here in this beautiful environment.
Not necessarily.
Well, not me. I said me. Me.
Right,
Me.
yes,
No,
you.
John is the opposite. As in many things, we are
Yes,
opposites.
there we go.
Now, wouldn't you think this dark-skinned Sicilian
Would
Italian
would love to
like
be in
sea
the hot
level?
sun.
But no, he's a mountain man, and Mr. Teutonic here. I like sea level. So
You never know what's going to happen
you
in life.
never know. See, it's nurture and nature and all those things. Soul Violins is another new song. I wrote that song right before we came down here, and it was one of those songs that was written about real experiences. You know, it's a lot of songs I write are, I won't say they're autobiographical, but I certainly draw from real life. I mean, they're certainly biographical. They don't know as autobiographical, but that song just sort of came alive, you know, and I knew that it would be right for this album. And I brought it down in one form and then played it for Greg Beek. And he said, well, why don't we change a couple of these chords? Because, you know, I think it would sound better if you did this or that. And I totally agreed with him. He said, do this. And I went, love it. And so he became sort of the co-writer of the song after the fact. And we changed a bunch of the chords. And I think I actually wrote the second verse while I was here, right on the spot. And certainly fits on the album. I love TKO is one of my all-time favorite songs. I've been singing that song. I started singing that in the early 90s on my, when I was doing some solo work, especially in Europe. That was part of the set. And so I'm I feel like I own that song now, even though, you know, Teddy's Teddy, and, you know, I'll never, you know, I wish he was still up there singing it with me. But it's just one of those great songs. It's such a sexy song, but yet it's a heartfelt song, and it's the sexiest heartbreak song I know.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah,
It's a heartbreaking
and it's so true. That song is so real and so true. Every time I sing that song, I feel like I'm singing about something that's happening to me, and I just, you know, I love that song, man.
Yeah,
That's
you added a different.
we added a different feel to it. It swings in a different kind of way, and you know, I love it. Don't Turn Your Back on Me has my stamp on it. I had written the verse to that song during the Do It for Love tour, and I used to sing this song called Forever for You. It was a song that John wrote, and somehow at the end of the song, I do these ad-libs, and, you know, on just about every song, and I started singing this thing out of the top of my head. Oh, baby, you're beautiful. You move so nasty. And every time I did it, all these girls would go, ah, like that. I went, oh, okay. And I thought, okay, this has to go somewhere. So when I was, I don't know, I was sitting down writing right before I came down here last year, and I said, I'm going to take that verse and I'm going to put something to it. And something happened to me, and I just came up with that chorus, and it just fit together perfectly, seamlessly, and it became that song. And I love that song. I love singing it. I think it was one of the early high points of the performance of the show. People were listening and watching, and you know, a lot of people in the audience didn't know what was going on, hadn't heard our version of these songs for the first time. And when that song hit, everybody stood up, and I got you know, it was the first sort of our first standing ovation of the evening. And that sort of set the tone for the rest of the show. So I always believed in that song, and there it is. You know? Yeah. I Can Dream About You is a song that has a strange history with us. Dan Hartman, back in the 80s, I was in a restaurant that I used to go to all the time in New York City, and I knew Dan. And one night he said, I have this song for you. It's perfect for you and John. And we had just finished, I think it was the Big Bam Boom album, I'm not sure, but it was around that period. And I said, well, we're not really looking for any material right now. Plus, in those days, we didn't really cut anybody else's material. And so I didn't really follow it up. And then about, I don't know, it might have been 6 months later or a year later, whenever it was, I heard the song, I Can Dream About You. And I saw it on MTV, and they had these guys dancing like the Temptations. And I loved that song, you know, and I said, that's the song, you know, that he was talking about. And I saw him after that, and I said something to him about it. He said, yeah, that was your song. And so after all these years, I figured, okay, I'll cut it. Finally, Dan, I hope you're hearing it from somewhere, but I cut it, and it was funny though. I changed all the lyrics. The only lyric I kept was "I can dream about you" and "moving sidewalks," because Dan's lyrics just didn't resonate to me, and so I said, okay, I'll just rewrite the words. So they're Daryl's words with Dan's spirit behind it.